Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Alright, so let's talk about Narcissist for just a moment here. So a lot of people, when they engage with people that are narcissists or narcissistic, a lot of times, how do I say this? Okay, there's this sense of wanting them to change, wanting them to love you, to be kind to you. And a lot of people say, well, can't they change? Well, can't they just be nice? Well, can't they? Well, I'm just going to cut right to the chase right now. What I'm trying to say is no. And I want to give you an actual reason why versus just, no, they can't, okay? So that's going to be what this video is about. So I'm going to put this piece in here because this really should start this video off. So there's a reason why you want them to be kind, loving people is because in the very beginning of the relationship, because okay, most people will look at you, okay, here's just the typical story for hundreds of years, thousands of years is this guy. It could be the other way around, but generally as our society's taught, it's the guy. It's not always the guy, it could be a woman too. So he's just mean to her, abusive, he cheats on her, he's a drunk, he knocks her around, he gets in trouble, he sleeps around, and the woman doesn't want to let him go, and everyone, especially her family, is like, what are you doing? Now, if you've dealt with narcissist abuse, you understand the urge, and it is an urge inside your heart, like you're so hurt. You want this person to come back, turn around, apologize, and to say, I'm sorry, and then to love you and make you feel better. So someone had said recently, I'd say about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, they said, well, is it possible to get them back to the way that they truly are? And I go, wait, what do you mean? They had stated how this person has such an angelic side and how, that's who they truly are, and like, why can't we go back to that? And I said, I don't think you're talking about a narcissist. I go, maybe she's just upset at the dynamics of the relationship or whatever. And this guy's, oh, no, trust me, with therapy, she is a narcissist for sure. So then what I realized was, okay, this person, they thought they were very well educated on narcissist abuse, and clearly they weren't, because there was it's the number one step they were clearly missing. So I'd said, look, that's called love bombing. In the very beginning of the relationship, it depends on each individual, etc. is they'll love bomb you. I'm just going to pick a random number, but generally the consensus is it's about 3 months. They treat you well, they cook for you, they clean for you, they tell the world how wonderful you are. I mean, it's called love bombing for a reason, because it's a bomb and it's going to go off. And I had to say, it's fake. It's, Matthew McConaughey said this to me. It's the Fugazi. And he goes, however you say that. It's not real. It's fairy dust. It's fake. And now wait till you hear the next part. This part is really the core reason of what I'm going to say right now. And that's why you want to go back to them. That's why you never leave them. You want them to bring back that loving feeling because it was so amazing.
This is one of the most beautiful.
And that's the trick.
Ever. This is quite amazing. Everything is beautiful. I know my
so
very well, but
here's what happened. Now this part that I'm going to explain to you is why it got locked into you so solid. It's actually a really, really beautiful thing. It's what I made a video last night about this very subject. Like, this is the key to your power. But most of you don't recognize it. You've heard it before. It's been told to you, but you don't quite get it. And here's the really weird, kind of fascinating, diabolical thing about all of this. The narcissist knows this is the key to your power. And he uses it. But you don't. The name of that video, because I want to release that video right now. Today's October 26th. This video is not going to come out for another 7 or 8 or 9 days. The name of that video, if it doesn't come out before this one, it's called A Super Powerful Key is Inside You. Compassionate Love Destroying Narcissist Abuse. And the image will say a super power key in you. I've been trying to get you guys to understand something, that self-love is the most powerful. I mean, see, I don't mean kind of sort of wimpy. I mean just like absolutely just like falling in love with you, like you fell in love with that beautiful girl in high school, or that guy, or or whatever. Like when you fall in love with you, you tap into a source of actual real power that you never knew existed, and it comes from love. This is why you're here, to reconnect with you. That's the whole purpose. It's why you're here. Now here's the weirdest, most diabolical, oddest thing in the world. The narcissist, for some reason, are completely, totally, highly, 100% aware of this. They have absolute clarity to the extent of, 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, everyone knows that, except for empaths. And it's the very reason why they have so much power over you. It's the reason why they can start hurting you and attacking you, manipulating you, abusing you, and you never leave. Your friends and your family want you to leave, and yet you're like, no, and you will defend their abuse. You will defend their attacks. They literally have a love spell over you. This love spell is so powerful that you can't break it. And that's the good news. Because it was always your love that they were using to manipulate you. Here's what I mean. Remember in the love bombing phase, even before that, they would study you like a predator. They would ask people like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? Now here's another thing. Now, because I'm an NLP trainer, neuro-linguistic programming, we study language. We study linguistics, not in the sense of, the diphthong and how they roll their R's, how, like if you go to Berkeley, Science at Berkeley, and study linguistics there, or Stanford or whatever. We study in the effect of how does this affect people's emotions and actions, and what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. So I had a major advantage over narcissists by the time I was in my 20s. I started noticing they would use language patterns that were just like mine. I thought, what's going on here? It's like they're copycats, because they were. They pay close attention to where blah, 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 and then you go blah, 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 and they're like, oh, wait a minute, they like that. You emphasize everything that you really like, that you really value, that you strongly believe in. You go from just talking blah, 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 and then this is how you pick out key values in someone's value system. Let's see, blah, 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 decisions, power, this, that, love. You emphasize that word, love, and it sounds different. And narcissist goes, oh, that's one of their key words, and they write that down. And it's the same thing with strongly held beliefs. You will really emphasize and put more effort, energy, talk faster, louder, you just emphasize it. That's one of their key beliefs. Okay. So here's what happens is you're like, well, how do they know to... Because one thing they say is like narcissists just seem to innately know how to attack people's, like to attack their structure and how to tear it down. Well, of course, they find out everything that you love, everything that you like, everything that you're passionate about, and then they find your strongly held beliefs, and then they go after them, and then they attack them, then they put doubt. Well, you don't really believe, and they'll even say, well, you don't really believe that, and then they'll try to connect something negative. Well, because blah blah blah, and they'll even make shit up, and now all of a sudden what they're doing is they're attacking your entire structure. In NLP, we call this the structure of language. Our language expresses the structures that we have inside, mentally, emotionally, physically. Like, this is what I believe, and here's my beliefs around this belief. Here's our decisions that cause us to believe it. I mean, and It's funny because as an NLP trainer, I do the absolute reverse of what a narcissist does. I find out, well, where are you stuck? What's in your structure that's holding you back? Oh, you have a false belief from childhood that you weren't even consciously aware of. Like, boom, I find those things, I pull them out, and then I make you conscious of it. And you're like, wow, that's right. When I was a little kid, my dad, he had lost his job and he's really pissed, and he said blah, 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 blah. And from that day forward, I just accepted it blindly without ever even thinking about it. And that's what most of us do. All of us do that. We just imprint when we're in childhood. And an imprint is a deeply set recording it's just copied. Like, boom, this is life, this is life. Between the age of 0 and 7, you just copy your parents and the people around you. Whatever they say, oh, okay, that's the way it is. Even when it's not. And that's why talk therapy doesn't work. You have to use techniques to get down into the root. A lot of this is stored in your unconscious mind and or reptilian brain. It's the lower brain that's sitting underneath the larger left and right hemisphere. These things are deeply embedded and memorized. Your body, okay, by the way, your memories, the information that you gather in math, business, science, everything in life, is stored in your muscles. It's not stored in your brain. Your brain is just a set of 3 processors, technically more, but your left, your right, your lower, and then your frontal lobes, etc., etc. These are just processors. These are just hard drives, and or what do they call them now? Something DDR drives. I can't remember the name right now, but these are just processors. Were never meant to store memories, but a lot of people think, oh, my memories are in my brain. No, they're not. The processor, depending on which one you use, goes down into your body, goes through the nervous system, goes through the nerves, and grabs that memory, pulls it back up, and then begins to process it. This is why it's called deeply held beliefs, or deeply held wounds, or deeply held emotions, because they are deeply held in your system. And in order to get them out, talking about them doesn't do nothing but just keep repeating the pattern over and over and over. So we use a series of techniques to break these patterns, to pull it out, to show you, and you're like, wow. So now as an adult with a much greater, vast education from watching TV for 10, 20, 30 years, reading books, going to school, listening to people, now you get to pick and choose like, wow, that's actually not a good belief at all. So what do you want to believe? What belief will actually support you and who you are, so you can move toward your goals in life? That's what I do. And that's why I can see the game of narcissists. I understand what they're doing. I understand how they're doing it. And I understand exactly what to do to shift it back and put the power back into your hands. So now, let's go back to the love bombing. They copied you. They copied your values, your rules, your keywords that you really enjoy. They literally began to memorize and copy what's called the structure of your language. They started listening for patterns in the way that you use words in a certain combination, and they started feeding this back to you, and your unconscious mind/heart loved it. That's why in the beginning of the relationship, you're thinking, wow, this is going to be my best friend. Man, we just click. This person's smart. This person's amazing. Everything that you like and value. I don't know if it's smart or amazing or whatever, but whatever it is, they fed it back to you. And you're like, wow, I'm holding on to this person. And then you cherish them, you love them, you cooked for them, you cleaned for them, you went to the movies, you just did you love this person, even if it was a business partner. You're thinking, this is exactly the way I think, this is exactly, finally someone gets it. But wait, there's more. You were falling in love with you. Do you see how diabolical this is? They just copied you, recorded you, and then repeated you back to you. That's why this is such good news. You have always loved you. You have always valued you. You have always believed in you too. That's why the narcissist copied this, so then you would begin to love him. And then he would get all this loving adoration, etc., forgiveness, overlooking his lies, overlooking his games, overlooking his manipulations and hurting you and cheating and everything, because you're just like, this person can do no wrong. Imagine for a moment that you looked at you like this. You loved yourself, you cherished yourself, you treated yourself well, you spoke well of yourself. Did you not tell everyone that you knew about this amazing person that you met? How he's this smart person, he's loving, he's this, he's that. And if there was any wise older people around, you're like, yeah, you're describing yourself. I wouldn't doubt if some of you, there were some people around you, probably a bit older, 40s, 50s, 60s, that said, well, yeah, why don't you treat yourself like this? Because that's who you are too. Now here's the diabolical part of this. When that person said, yeah, but they have this loving side to them. No, they don't. The mean, angry, crazy side that you finally started to realize, that's who they really are. That's them. So here's what I'm trying to get you to finally understand. You're awesome. You are so fucking awesome. You have no idea how beautiful of a human being you are, because narcissists have done this to your whole life. They took on your personality, they fed it back to you to get you to fall in love with them, and this is what they really did. They got you to overlook all of their faults, because deep down inside you were thinking, well, they didn't really mean that, they're not that kind of person, because you're not looking at them, you're looking at you, and what you're really saying is that you're not mean like that, you're not that kind of a person. But you projected that onto them, thinking, oh, they're this nice person, when really they never were. See, you know that if you were to do something like that, you would never mean that in a million years. That something bad, someone had to trick you. You had to be not get sleep for 10 days, be under tremendous stress, or something bad had to have happened, because you're not like that. But they are. All I'm saying is, imagine if you could finally see you. Not who they told you that you were, not the lies, not the manipulation, but the core you. The core you that nobody can change. The loving, the emotional, caring, kind, compassionate, down-to-earth, grounded person who just loves and wants to be loved. This meme fits so perfectly with this video. You have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Your whole world will shift. See, narcissists got you to criticize yourself, whether it was a school teacher, a parent, a mother, all these different people constantly criticizing you're no good, and they got you to start criticizing yourself. They were projecting who they were onto you. And you accepted it. Refuse it. Say, nope, that's not me. That's your shit. Return to sender. And imagine that heartbreak you have in your heart returning back. Imagine it coming out of your heart, the energy, the emotions, the feelings, the colors, everything, the weight of it, and it goes into them. You return all these energies. You return all these cords. You cut all these cords. You release everything back to them. You visually, imaginally feel it go back to them. It's theirs. It always has been. You become your self-talk. You become your beliefs. In other words, when you finally start realizing you're a beautiful person, you start becoming more beautiful. You physically, emotionally, verbally, the way you interact with people, your energy begins to shift. Imagine the first time you fell in love, the way you treated that person. Now imagine treating yourself that way, falling in love with yourself, being good to yourself, etc., etc. This is the key to your happiness, your success, and your power in every area of life. Here's the cool thing. When you become best friends and fall in love with yourself, and you're love bombing yourself and treating yourself well from your heart versus a narcissistic tactic, when you're really in love with yourself, you create this vibe, this warmth, this loving energy that vibrates around you, and people want to be around you, especially good people that enjoy that energy. You will find and connect to better people with better hearts. Life becomes better. So let's go on to part 2, which is really what this video is about. Okay, this is the very beginning, the first 5 minutes or so of this video. So here's the challenge with narcissists. When you are like, well, can't they change? Can't they treat me better? Can't they become better people? My answer is no, and I have an actual real reason behind it. Actual scientific, neurological, etc. So because I specialized in communication between men and women, one of the things I had to learn was the transfer of information between the left brain, the logical brain, and over to the right brain, the emotional, creative, spiritual brain, the 5 senses processor. So what I'm about to talk about is this is what I mean when it comes to crack the female code. Women are processing communication in a different part of their brain, which shifts the meaning to the same words. We are also using a different language going in a different direction. There is a series of codes that women use that they're not even aware of. Alright, so back to narcissists. So because of this education, this focus, and this training, I began to look, once I realized what narcissists were, all of a sudden everything just revealed itself. I'm like, wow, this is what I've been focusing on for the last 30 years of my life. So one of the things we learn in psychology class, and I did learn this in psychology class and hypnosis and a couple of the books studying neuro-linguistic programming, etc., is there's something called the corpus callosum. All it means, it's a big word, all it means is the jumble of nerves that connect the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain and back to transfer information left to right, left to right. At birth, the majority of women are born with more neurological connections that connect the left side to the right side. Now, what does that mean? It means they can transfer information quick, just like this, snap, 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 left to right, left to right, left to right. Men, the majority, more than 50% for sure, we're talking maybe even 80 to 90% of men, do not have as many neurological connections. So they're very left brain people, and they're raised using their left brain, and it's what they know, and they go and study science, math, and business because that's what the left brain does, and they really develop this side of their brain. They get really, really good at it, so why would they leave it? We live in an overly logical society. Computers are extremely left brain. Math, business, science, even to drive a car. You've got to follow the rules while the left brain processes through rules, structure, and organization. We live in a society, the Western mind, the Western society is left brain. The Eastern mind is the right brain. So at birth, women are born with more neurological connections on average. Not all women, maybe say 75-80% or so. I don't know the exact numbers. On average, the average male doesn't have as many neurological connections, and they don't go left, right, left, right. Now, there are some men that do that, and then there's a very small percentage of men that have a strong connection to the right brain. Those are the men that become the leaders. Those are one that goes up the ladder in the military, the corporate world, the business world, or just the group. They become the leaders because they can see the bigger picture. They can make the connections. Now, men, if you haven't realized yet, that's how the female's mating system is triggered, by right brain males. Now, you can't fake it. And that's the thing about narcissists. They try to do this, but you can't fake it. Faking is the left brain process. Acting is the left. You're copying, okay? So copying is not amalgamation. Amalgamation is a very natural right brain flow of connecting the pieces in your own way. So now let's look at narcissists. So a lot of you are like, well, can they change? Can they develop better behaviors? Can they treat me nice? Okay, here's another one. Like, I will have people call me and would do a session. Let's say, whenever I try to just sit down and talk to them and discuss this or negotiate, like being nice, and it's like these are negotiation, discussion, relationships, these are all right brain concepts. They can't even relate to that. Some people are literally just born with very limited connection to the right brain. I mean, these are the narcissist of the narcissist. What do they call them? I want to say megalomaniac. That's not the word. They're called a malignant narcissist. These are the sociopaths. These are the psychopaths. And then there are the narcissists who were probably born with not very many connections. So let's say they're average or slightly beneath the average. See, okay, hold on. So let's say the average person has an average amount of connections between left and right hemisphere. Narcissists don't. They're below the average person. I don't mean a slight little bit, but I mean a lot. These people cannot. You are asking a being that is underdeveloped. They don't have the connections. So my answer is no. They can't change. So let's say you've got another narcissist that became a narcissist, if we want to use it that way. They developed it. Well, they began to develop this at a very young child. Their parent, I actually know someone who was teaching one of their daughters to be they literally would tell them stuff to do and how to do it and how to view it. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. I bailed out of that. I'm like, never talking to that person again. So let's say they are created narcissists at a very young age for whatever reason. They had anger issues. They were spoiled. They were selfish. For what? See, I think when you're selfish and spoiled and get angry at other people, you don't have compassion. For whatever reason, you don't have that right brain connection. One of the things that I say is it's like narcissists close that door. They don't want to be hurt emotionally. They don't want to deal with their emotions, so they close the door, lock it, triple lock it, pound nail boards across it. They're not going there. And what happens, let's say they have an average or normal neurological connection to the right brain. They never develop it. They don't like to use that part of their brain because they don't like to feel emotional pain. So they avoid it at all costs. So what does that mean? It means that these people never develop social skills. They never develop right. See, the right brain is the social brain. The right brain is the relationship brain. This is what I teach men. I go, you're not supposed to come home in your logical brain from work. That's why they say leave your work at work. Don't bring your work home. It literally means before you walk in the door, do a couple deep breaths, stretch, shake your body out, shake your head, snap out of it, and open up to your physical senses, which opens you up to your right brain, which is the relationship brain. The social brain is the brain you're supposed to be in when you're with your wife or your girlfriend. Now, logically telling you to do this, it's, oh, I'm in my right brain because I said I am. There's a conditioning course. I call it Crack the Female Code. A third of the course is conditioning you over and over and watching you and reminding you and showing you different ways, different techniques and skills to become more of an emotionally grounded person. Well, that means right brain. That means connected to your body and out of your head. So here's the deal when it comes to narcissists, even those who became narcissists. Their whole lives, what did they do? You and I, we chose to be social. We chose to okay, that person's mad at me. How can I fix this? How can I make that better? Because this is a right brain function. Okay, they got mad at me because they misunderstood me. Okay, how can I explain this in a way that they'll actually understand me? A narcissist view is, okay, that's not the response I wanted. What's the tactic or technique to get the response that I wanted, like a robot? We're pulling from two different sides of our brain. The logical approach versus the emotional, creative, spiritual, social, relationship approach, which is what you're supposed to do. That's what the right brain is for. All right, I'll make it real simple. So narcissists, their whole life, they went to the left and they started pulling out weapons, techniques to hurt you, techniques to force you to do what they want, to control you, to manipulate you, to lie to you. What's a better way to get this, to sneak this past them? What's a better way to manipulate them? See, they've been over here using weapons of war. And here's the deal. They've been doing it since they were little kids, since they were children. They have developed things. It's like going in the military, man. You got to learn how to. Well, how do I use a machine gun? How do I use this grenade launcher? You have to learn how. And then you have to practice and practice and practice, and you have to get really good at it in order for it to be effective. Haven't you guys ever noticed that whenever a narcissist fails at trying to manipulate you or do something, they go into this logical, okay, damn, that didn't work. And you're looking at it like, what's wrong with you? Well, because you can see it's like they went into their scientific brain of, okay, that didn't work. What's a better way of, and they start to think about it. It's like, and the reason why it's weird is because you're like, why would you treat me like that? I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot. I remember saying, like, I'm not your enemy. Like, why are you treating me like I'm your enemy? Because they see everyone as their enemy. Now here you are, looking at love, understanding, compassion. How do we get along, and how can I understand you better? And how can we socialize? And not only that, but your thing is like, well, how can we create a better environment? How can we be happier? How can we have more fun? How can we be more prosperous? Where they're doing they're developing, how do I fight you? And you're developing, how can we support each other? How can we get along better? Do you see the difference? Now here's the part I'm really trying to build. This is right here. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Let's just imagine a miracle happens and the Lord God Almighty comes down from heaven and he stands 10,000 feet tall and his head is up in space and he's just massive, and he comes down to the planet Earth and he touches them. He heals them. Shazam! Here's the problem. Let's say they want to be nice. Let's say they want to be better. They can't. Because whenever they go inside to find the tools of their trade, all they have is control, manipulation, analyzing, weapons of destruction, knives, hand grenades, guns, all that kind of stuff. Let's see what else. Manipulation, gaslighting. See, here's what I'm saying. Like when they go to the bucket of, well, how do I get along with people? They have no strategies. They have no communication skills. They have no, let's say like, well, I want to understand this person better. It's not there. They don't have this tool in their arsenal. They never developed. Well, how do you just communicate from your heart? They don't have that ability. They don't have that strategy. They don't have that technique. They don't have that tool. They're going into an empty box of nothingness. Whereas you're like, well, here's how, when you have a misunderstanding with someone, this is how you communicate better so they can understand you. When you get in a fight with someone, well, here's the strategy on how to listen to understand. Like, oh, well, they need compassion right now. Okay, let me reach into my box and, oh, here's my techniques to use to express compassion to people. They've never developed these abilities. They've never gathered these tools. They've never learned how to use them. You could even give them 10 of those tools, and they're going to look at you with a blank stare and be like, well, what do I do with this? All they have are tools to hurt people, to force people, to control, to manipulate. That's that gaslight. That's all they have. And they're really good at them. I'll give them that. But let's say God put it in their heart to want to come from their heart, to treat you better, to be good to you. It's going to take them decades. Decades. Imagine dealing with someone who's 20 years old. Are they really that good at being a good person? No, they haven't developed that ability yet. Even with coaching with someone like me who can, because this is essentially what I do. I teach you skills, tools, communication abilities, and strategies on how to be more effective in your communication. One of the biggest tools that I teach people in my courses is listening to understand. You think, oh, well, I'll just do that. No, you have to learn how to completely shut your brain off. No thinking at all. You have to learn how to expand that and empty the space in your mind, your heart, and your belly. Literally. No thought, no energy, ping pong, no ping pong anywhere, no, you have to completely empty that and receive them, their body language, their tone, their tempo fully, and the level of understanding is phenomenal. It will blow your mind. All of a sudden, it's like you can read their mind. A narcissist, they're not even in preschool. They can't even take my course. It's so far above them and so far ahead of them. It's literally like teaching. So you can teach someone 1 + 1 = 2 when they're a little child. It's a kindergarten or first grade. But you can't teach trigonometry to a 5-year-old or 4-year-old. It's not going to happen. They're gonna look at you and be like, "What? It's too complicated. They can't comprehend." We are literally talking about underdeveloped people, and I mean their brain is underdeveloped. Their neurological connections are less. And on top of that, the ones that they do have are underdeveloped. And top of that, they haven't developed social skills, communication skills, strategies, etc., 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 abilities. They're underdeveloped. You are asking a magical miracle of someone who just can't do it. And on top of that, they think you're trying to manipulate them because that's what they think everybody's doing. They don't think you're trying to be nice to them. They view the world of either or. Either you're getting one over on me or I'm getting one over on you. So when you start introducing, why can't you be nice to me? Why can't you communicate? Why can't you just be honest? They're laughing inside, going, "Man, this isn't working on me, bro. You're not going to trick me that easily." And you're like, "I'm not." I remember saying, "Look, I'm not trying to trick you." And that's what I was like, I am done. I just walked. Like, no matter what you say, it's being processed through the either or mentality. Either you win or I win. Either I get over on you or you get over on me. The idea of two people being on the same page getting along, that's a concept they can't comprehend. They think it's a trick. Number one, your best ability, your best thing, your best choice, walk away. Number two, let's say God does come down there and bless them and he at least heals their heart. It's going to take 20 years of them developing that neurological connection. And by the way, in my course, Crack the Female Code, we actually teach men. And I'm talking about average men and above average men. I'm not talking about narcissists because they can't comprehend they can't comprehend the concepts. And the concepts are actually quite basic when you see it. You're like, "Oh, wow, this simplifies everything." Like, yeah, the whole course simplifies everything. So narcissist, the brain matter is underdeveloped literally and physically. And their neuro or nerve connections are also underdeveloped. So I'm going to end it with this. Number one, they don't have the neurological connections. Number two, they developed weapons of war. They're really good at that. Number three, they don't have anything in the other box. So when you're asking them to be nicer to you, they don't have any tools, skills, or ability. They don't know how. And so what they're going to do is they're going to revert back to the other box and pull out their weapons. See, that's their way. See, that's their way of getting along in society. That's their way of getting along with other people. So even the love bombing phase, which seems wonderful, it's just a tactic. It's just a skill. It's a technique that they developed to control you, to manipulate you, to hurt you. It's not coming from their heart. So I hope it simplifies things that neurologically they don't have the connections. Number two, they've never developed the skills or abilities to do it, and it's going to take them a long, long time. And until then, they're going to continue to use their weapons of hurt and pain. And that's the way it is. So if you are taking this, oh, well, then there's hope then. No, I'm telling you, there's not. You're just going to suffer tremendously until you can't take it anymore. If you run into a narcissist, walk away. Once you realize they're a narcissist, walk and block. The only way that if there is any possibility that they might change their heart is by you walking away. By you sticking around, they're like, well, why should I change? I mean, she's sticking around. This video was not to give you hope that a narcissist can change. Do not think that. What I'm saying is I absolutely do not believe at this point in time, without a miracle from God, I do not believe narcissists can change or will change. Period. End of sentence. Walk away. They don't have the neurological connections and they have never developed social skills. Period. End of sentence. All they've developed and all they know is weapons to attack. That's it. What I am saying is you can change. You can fall in love with yourself. You can love bomb yourself. You can connect to your power. Alright, that's it. If you guys like this video and you want to go ahead and make a donation, there's a PayPal link right there in the description box. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. God bless you guys. This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. I hope this video helped you. If it did, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. Alright guys, God bless you.